Stabcast number 8, Global Basics. Hey guys, how you doing? This Stabcast is about basics of global, things that you need to know that might show up on the test that, to be perfectly honest with you, are pretty much the easiest questions you're going to get, as long as you just have some general background knowledge about global history, the social studies, and how we find out all this fun stuff. Sorry, I just had to adjust myself in my chair. Deal with it. Alright, so social scientists are people who study the world where people live. And you see there's that umbrella right there. That's a little expression right there. All these different things fall under the umbrella of social sciences. Alright, it's something that's going to cover a lot of different areas. Alright, you see geography down there, you see economics, you see linguistics, you see political science, you see law, you see psychology. There's a bunch of other stuff there too. I'm not going to read them all, but there's a lot of different things that go into make up what the social sciences are, and all those people who study it are social scientists. Alright, we're in this class, we're historians. Alright, we are studying written records of the past. Alright, those records can fall into two areas. You have primary sources and you have secondary sources. All right? Primary sources are things that are written or recorded by someone who was actually witnessing the event. All right? Whereas a secondary source is someone who read something that someone witnessed and is now writing about it. Okay? So that is the difference between primary and secondary sources. All right? Primary source, think a diary. Think a photograph. Think a newspaper. All right? Newspaper can be a primary source, but it might not necessarily be. If the newspaper article includes an eyewitness account, that would be an example of a primary source. All right? If it's reporting something that happened that does not include an eyewitness account, then it can be considered a secondary source because it's a second-hand account. All right, then you have economists. All right, every society has a bunch of resources. All right, it's got all this stuff. How you determine who, what, and how you produce with that stuff, that is what an economist studies. All right, there are those three basic economic questions: what are we producing, how are we producing it, and once we produce it, who gets it? All right, that's what an economist studies. Then you have geographers. Geographers are people who study the Earth's surface and how the geographic features of the Earth impact people. All right. When we talk about topography, that's actually the study of the Earth's features. Okay. So you have mountains, you have lakes, you have rivers, you have oceans. All these different things on the Earth's surface are going to have an impact on human beings and how they live. All right. Geographers are going to use many different kinds of maps. The three types of maps you really need to worry about are political maps. That's a map that's going to include capital cities, borders of countries, other major cities, things like that. All right. Then you have a physical map. A physical map will kind of include all that too, but it's also going to show those geographic features. All right. If there's mountains, it'll have the mountains on there. If there's a desert, it'll have the desert on there. That's a physical map. And then, last but not least, you have a cartogram. All right? A cartogram is a map that has information on it. Now, it can be done in a couple different ways. They could either add things to it, like symbols, to indicate that there's resources in a certain area, or there's certain people living in a certain area. Or the other thing they might do is distort the size of countries or states or things like that to demonstrate that they might have more money or something like that. All right, you have anthropologists. Anthropologists are going to study the past and present human cultures. All right, and within the sort of realm of anthropology is archaeologists. Archaeologists study artifacts. Artifacts are any man-made object that's kind of left behind. And amongst the most famous anthropologists are Mary Leakey, who is the person who comes up with the theory that the earliest human life was in Africa, because she finds a really, really old skeleton, which she names Lucy, which indicates that human life probably started in Africa in the Great Rift Valley. That's great. All right. These are your social sciences. I heart them. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Bye.